Once there was a mom and her son, Jonathan. Jonathan had never met his father. He had taken a job far away in another state when Jonathan was just a baby boy. Jonathan's mom had been his only parent his whole entire life. And that was fine with Jonathan. That was fine with his mom. They loved each other very much. One day when Jonathan arrived home from school, his mother was there waiting for him. She wasn't at work like she usually was, so he knew something must be wrong. "Jonathan, honey, please sit here with me. I need to talk to you about something," his mom said as he put his school books down. "What's the matter, Mom? You look upset. Did I do something wrong?" Jonathan asked, knowing full well that he hadn't done anything wrong. No, honey, that's not it at all. It's something about Mommy. You see, I went to the doctor today and he had some not-so-good news for me. Jonathan, Mommy has cancer and it's going to make me very, very ill." "But you'll get better, right, Mom? You're going to be okay, right?" Jonathan begged. "No, son, I'm afraid not. This cancer is very bad and they don't have a cure for it," his mom said with a tear in her eye. Jonathan sat very silent and still. All of a sudden he felt extremely sad and lonely. "The doctors say I only have a few months to live. Jonathan, Mommy's going to die." Jonathan continued to sit there very silent and still. "Jonathan, honey, are you all right? Please say something. I need to know that you're all right." Jonathan finally answered, "I'm all right, Mom. I'm just a little mad at God right now for letting you get sick. I'm a little mad that he's going to take you away from me and that I'm going to be all alone. I think I'm just a little mad right now. I'm sorry you have cancer, Mom. I'm so sorry." Jonathan threw himself into his mother's arms and cried and cried. His mom cried too. They both cried together. Jonathan and his mom sat together on the couch way into the night, holding on to each other. They knew that the time would come when they could no longer do this, so they held on to each other really tight for a really long time. In fact, they fell asleep right there on the couch, in each other's arms. 3 months passed, and Jonathan and his mom did their best to prepare for her death. Even though Jonathan could see his mom getting very sick, they made the days as happy as possible and spent many hours looking at photographs and listening to music and sitting in the yard looking at the flowers and trees and birds. One night they were sitting on the porch swing looking up at the stars when Jonathan said, "Mom, I don't think I'm going to be okay when you're gone. I think I'm going to be very lonely and always wishing you were here to watch over me. And I'm afraid that there won't be anyone to take care of you. That's my job." "Jonathan, you're such a fine young man and a wonderful son. You've always taken care of me, and I've always taken care of you, and I want you to know that will never stop. You see, I've had a little talk with God, and we've come up with quite a deal. He's hired me to be his personal assistant. It's a much better job than I have right now. And guess what? Since I'm not allowed to stay here on Earth and watch over you, he's given me a very special office to work out of. Can you guess where my office is going to be?" "Where, Mom?" Jonathan asked excitedly. "My office is going to be on the moon. That way I'll have a perfect view of the Earth and I'll be able to see you whenever I want." "But Mom, how can you see me from the moon? It's so far away. And what about when it's daytime? How will you see me then?" "Oh, you forget, my boy. When I leave here, I will be an angel. Angels have special powers that allow them to do things that we can't do down here on Earth. Besides, I talked God into throwing in a high-powered video camera and a widescreen TV. I'm going to position it high up in the sky, right directly above this town. Whenever you're out of my sight from the moon, I'll just turn the camera on and it'll beam the pictures back to me. That way I'll be able to save all the videotapes of you growing up and watch them over and over, forever and ever." "I don't know, Mom. Sounds a little far-fetched to me. Did God really promise you that?" Jonathan asked. "I promise you, son. I will always be watching over you. I will watch over you until you're a very old man and it's your time to join me in heaven. And when that day comes, I'll fly back to heaven and greet you with open arms." "But Mom, how will I see you? I won't be able to see you on the moon. It's too far away." "I know, Jonathan. I guess I got a better deal than you. I think God did this favor for me because I'm so sick. But you know what? You'll never forget me. I will always be in your thoughts and in your heart. And all you have to do when you're feeling lonely or sad is go out and look up at the moon, and you'll know that I'm there sending you hugs and kisses and lots of love." Jonathan looked very happy to hear that and said, "I love you so much, Mom." Jonathan's mom was very happy to hear that and said, "I love you too, baby." 2 days later, Jonathan's mom died. Jonathan's aunt stayed with him for several weeks. She was his mom's younger sister and looked very much like her. One night a man arrived to see Jonathan. "Hello, Jonathan," the man said. "I'm your dad. I was very sorry to hear about your mom." "Hi," was all Jonathan had to say. "Well, son, it looks like you're going to come live with me now. Let's get your things together. We've got a long flight ahead of us." Very upset with this news, Jonathan ran into the house crying. His dad started after him, but his aunt, who had overheard the conversation, stopped him and said, "Let me go." Jonathan's aunt found him in his room, lying on his bed, gazing out at the window at the moon. "You know, Jonathan, your mom told me about her deal with God. In fact, I was outside a little earlier sending my love to her on the moon." "You were?" Jonathan asked. "Absolutely. Your mom was a very special sister to me, and I'm very glad that she has this special position on the moon so that we can look up at her almost any time we need her." "But my dad wants to take me away. My mom won't know where to look for me or where to put the camera," Jonathan cried. "And what if there's no moon at my dad's house?" "Jonathan, everywhere you go on this earth you can see the moon. That's why your mom chose it. She knew that one day you'd have to leave this house, so she picked the moon as her lookout point to watch over you. And being that she's an angel now, she'll always know where you are. More importantly, being that she's God's assistant, if she ever does have trouble finding you, God will find you for her. She took care of everything, Jonathan. You're in good hands." Jonathan seemed relieved, and together they packed up some of his things for the trip. His aunt promised to send the rest of his stuff to him in a week or two. He went out to his dad, who was waiting for him at the car, and said, "I'll be just a minute, Dad. I have to do something first." Jonathan walked over to the porch swing where he had sat with his mom that night and looked up at the moon. It was a beautiful, bright, full moon, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. The stars were the most brilliant he had ever seen. "Mom, I guess I'm going to go live with Dad now. I understand that they have the moon where he lives too. I hope your office on the moon is nice, and I hope the video camera's working okay. I hope you can see and hear me. I really miss you, Mom. I love you." Jonathan moved far away with his dad, and indeed they did have the moon there, and everywhere else Jonathan ever went. He grew up to be a very happy and loving man, and grew to love his father very much. Over the years, when Jonathan felt lonely or sad, one could always find him sitting out on the porch swing looking up at the moon. He always felt better when he did. And so did his mom.